Hey everybody, this is Nick, the Tampa Trailblazer, and this is the first video of my power walking series called The Starting Line. This is where everybody can start, particularly designed for beginners, but some advanced people might get a few tips and pointers out of it as well. So let's get right to it. And this is particularly for people that are really frustrated about fitness. They're overweight, or unhealthy. And don't let me fool you. I've been overweight and unhealthy as well. I've ballooned up to around 250 pounds at one point in my life, and I've slimmed down and managed to almost drop. Now I'm almost down below 200, so I designed this program specifically for people like this in mind. Although other athletes and exercise enthusiasts can use what I'm going to teach, because I'm bringing 25 years of experience to the table to show people how to power walk properly, safely, and effectively. And as we go through the course, we're going to get more and more advanced. But this is for the beginners out there, all the couch potatoes and people out there struggling with their weight, constantly wondering what they're doing wrong. And I'm going to show you what you're doing wrong and why things aren't working out for you. First of all, we're going to go against ellipticals and treadmills. I personally, they're great for indoor use for on your rainy days when you can't power walk, but I would totally discourage it because, particularly in the case of the treadmill, you are not generating the power to propel yourself forward. The treadmill is doing that. So if you want to increase the intensity of the treadmill, you don't increase the speed, increase the angle of elevation. And that's going to give you more of a realistic approach. But the downside of that is if you don't have flexible ankles, it's going to cause a lot of foot problems and a lot of lower leg problems. So, and the elliptical is a little bit better, but then again, it's not natural motion of the body. You can get a better workout from an elliptical, and it's zero impact, but you miss the benefits of being outside. So they're great alternatives, but there's no substitute for being outside in the outdoors. Naturally, the way the body was intended to function. But they're great for rainy days. So let's look at the marathoner versus the sprinter. So you got the marathoner on the left and the sprinter on the right. Look how skinny and scrawny the marathoner is compared to the sprinter. It's because the sprinter needs those muscles to propel himself forward. The long distance runner, which I see so many people do, they sacrifice muscle mass in order to propel themselves for longer and longer distances. The body is pretty smart, and if it's not utilizing something, it's going to lose it, and that includes muscle mass. So I see people just endlessly walking on a treadmill or trying jogging, and they get frustrated because the body will actually try to lose muscle mass first before it loses fat to be able to go those longer distances. So if you don't use it, you lose it. And another advantage that the sprinter has over the marathoner is utilizing everything he can to move himself forward for a longer distance. Therefore, he has to lean forward. That helps him propel his body forward, so everything is in the frontal plane. The sprinter, on the other hand, is going for a short distance, so he is reaching backwards and actually pulling using the antagonistic muscles of the back, the biceps, the hamstrings, everything, to generate forward momentum quicker and not over a shorter distance. So he's using more muscles, particularly in the back plane, not the frontal plane. We do everything in our frontal plane. We're driving our cars. Everything we think is pushing forward. And when you're sprinting, you're actually pulling your arms backwards behind you as hard as you can to propel yourself forward. And the same thing with like a boxer. Well, a boxer will pull back before he punches. That little cock, they try to hide that as much as they can, but there's always that little bit. And then they have great antagonistic biceps and back muscles. You think that they would need strong shoulders and chest muscles, which is true, but they need that stronger back and bicep so that the body knows that it can go forward such great force and then be able to pull that back without having that backward resistance. The body be able to do that, to pull that punch if it needs to. It won't be able to generate as much force. So that's that antagonistic motion. So that's what just several of the many different advantages. What if I told you that you could accomplish the physique of a sprinter with power walking? I know how to do that, and I'm currently in the process of doing that right now. Wish I could show my body off, but I still got a little bit of a spare tire left, so that'll come with progress, because I'm in it with you. I'm not preaching at you. I'm in this with you, and I'm just trying to share my knowledge and my experience with you, so that you can achieve the same results that I'm achieving. And I'm doing this totally for free. I ask that you just use my links, and if you catch me out on the trails of Tampa Bay, catch a selfie with me, then you get a chance for $10 in Bitcoin for free. Just, you'll need a Bitcoin wallet, but that's just a little incentive that I try to get people to get out and start walking, because it is the best exercise out there. So, what do we need before we get started? Before we have to get a pair of shoes. Don't even think about starting until you get a good pair of walking shoes or running shoes. I was going to put up links, affiliate links, but shoes are so personalized that I felt like that would be detrimental to you. So, what I suggest for most people, going out buying a $30 to $50 pair of running or walking shoes is going to be fine. If you have foot problems and you have knee problems, then you might consider going to one of the specialty foot stores that specialize in that, or getting the specialized inserts along with. Maybe you have high arches, maybe you're knock-kneed, I got one leg slightly longer than the other, so my right foot kind of turns inward a little bit, and my arches are a little bit high. But most shoes seem to work for me. It's not as bad. Some people might have a little bit more asymmetry going on. So I decided just, go pick out a nice pair, and you're going to have to change them out every 3 months, probably, depending upon your weight, where you're at right now, and your fitness level, and how long you can sustain power walking. This midsole, this area right here in the shoe, that's going to break down before the tops or the tread will, and you'll start feeling you won't feel that spring in your step anymore. And when that happens, you're going to need a new pair of shoes. Otherwise, you're going to start getting back problems, knee problems, hip problems, the works. It will, this is a good solid foundation, a good solid base. So before you even think about starting, go out and buy yourself a nice, make sure that feels like they feel good and give you a spring in your step. If you got to worry about stylishness, I recommend, like for most people, a $30 to $50 pair. If you want to go and buy the $100 pair, that's fine, but you're still going to have to replace them, because the midsoles are going to break down in them fairly quickly, and depending upon how often and how long you walk before the tread will or the uppers will. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you should always at the beginning of the run test the springy feel of the shoe. This is optional. I use a knee wrap similar to this one over here, but there's all sorts of different knee wraps. It's once again, it's a comfort fit. Yeah, this is the one that I use right here. I have the braces on one side, and my right knee tends to get more hurt than the left, and so I've got a little bit tighter of a wrap on that one. The left one I could probably do without, but I put it in there just because I like the feel of it on both knees. I just like the stability on it. But there's wraps, and like I said, if you don't have knee problems, it's optional, but I highly recommend it, particularly if you're overweight or you're prone to knee or foot problems. You might, once again, it's a personalized decision. That's why I don't have an actual link for it. I would definitely recommend going out and buying one of these first. Now we go to music. We can start off, what you do is you go to YouTube and you type in 100 beats per minute, 100 BPM music, and you'll get something like this. That's a little slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if that's too slow, we can just change this to a 120. And we can go to 120 music. 120 beats, deep house. Just find a genre that you like. I like classic rock. Now it's a little faster. 2, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Thank you for helping us out.
I usually go about 130, 140 myself. But you want to work your way up to this. And we'll go to 140. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's what you do. You just go to YouTube. Just find a type of place where music that you like in particular, and this will help you. Later on, you probably won't need it as much, but it's a good pace keeper. Moving on, what you want to do is you want to look for a park with a nice flat path. You don't want any hills. You want it most, if not all, asphalt or concrete. This is for trip hazards when you first start out. You may find yourself dragging your feet, and you want to be able to do it as carefully. And you want ideally a nice shaded area so you're not overheating yourself. In the beginning, later on, you can go out in more sunny areas. But just look around for different areas, different parks. I use the All Trails app to find parks to walk in. Now, the walking technique. You can freeze the video here and walk through and go through all the different techniques. This is probably one of the better ones that I found as far as like a diagram. What I recommend, though, instead of lift the rib cage, engage the waist, just kind of arch your back just a tiny bit. And that's going to lift your rib cage, and that's going to engage your core. That's going to, I see everybody say engage your core, and they talk about their stomach, but it's the back. And as I talked to you about in sprinting, we want to strengthen those antagonistic muscles, the muscles that are pulling backwards, not so much pushing forwards, because we spend our whole day doing that. And then the single leg stand. You should be able to do that for 30 seconds. That's all I have for this video. Thanks for